Hey there, everybody. It's Crazy John Carrots here on OSH Radio, and today I am on here with Joe Castro. Now, you are a special effects supervisor, what, for 43 years? You've been doing that, and you also have, as a producer and a director, you've done 19 films.
John, thanks for having me on the show today. Yeah, I've been around for about 43 years. I got my first paycheck when I was 12 years old, and I'm going to be turning 55 this year.
That's great.
I
That is
know,
great.
yeah, it's been a dream, a real living the dream. But yeah, and along the way, I've directed some movies and worked on a whole bunch of fun stuff. I've been very blessed to have a very colorful career, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a really memorable, fun stuff for a lot of people. Most people don't know this, but I worked on the original Roseanne television series.
Oh, that's
And
impressive.
yeah, I made John Goodman's Halloween costume for the you remember the Halloween episodes? Everybody remembers the Halloween episodes, right? I made John Goodman's costume for the show when he played when he was the Three Stooges. I don't know if you remember when he had Three Stooges. Yeah, he had Curly and Moe sitting on his
Yeah,
shoulders,
yeah,
and he
yeah,
was
yeah.
Larry, and he did the kind of thing and did all that stuff. Yeah, they hired me and my friend Jim Keegan to make that costume. They gave us 24 hours to make it.
Ooh,
That's how much
nothing
of a
like
time.
being under the gun,
Yeah,
huh?
they literally were like, I guess they thought they could like go out and buy like, Three Stooges masks, and they were just going to use that for the heads on his shoulders. And then when they went out, I guess there was some sort of trademark or like whatever problem. There was no mask made of them, and so then they had to have somebody make them. And I don't know how my name fell into the hat, but it did. And they're like, we can get you the money, but you're gonna have to have it done in 24 hours. And we're like, okay, let's do it. So we just stayed up all night and did it. Yeah.
That's great. Now, everybody listening to this, including myself, we're going to have to go back and watch it again, even though we vaguely remember it to get it better. It's
Yeah,
funny
it's
you
the
brought up John Goodman because a lot of people go to me, your voice sounds sort of like John Goodman. They say that to me quite often to me. So it's, I like him. He's a good actor. I like the stuff he does.
yeah.
He's gotten thin lately, but I guess that's I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes when we get older, we get thinner, and I don't know if it looks better or looks worse. But
Yeah.
it's
I
it's the
agree.
health that
I
matters.
I agree. I agree. I agree.
Now, I
Um,
guess you had just gotten a lifetime achievement award. Also, maybe you could tell us about that.
I was honored with a lifetime achievement. I'm only 55, but I guess I'm already up there. Yeah, the indie horror junkie people over in Florida gave me a lifetime achievement award, and it was a real honor to go out there and receive it. I think the other gentleman that received it the year before was Tom Savani, a very well-known special effects artist. So to be able to, be standing in the same place that he did and receive the same award is a real honor. And yeah, it doesn't matter how many things you've done or how many shows, movies you've worked on. The more just to be acknowledged by your peers is always a real honor. You know.
It's great to be acknowledged for a lot of things because I think a lot of times people don't acknowledge a lot of people doing a lot of the work. And I don't know if you follow wrestling at all, but I kind of play around with harassing wrestlers as a clown and stuff. But after WrestleMania, it was nice this time. AAA thanked all the people that worked behind the scenes that people didn't necessarily see, and that's important. And it's good, like you got the recognition. And sometimes people don't think of the people that are in the background.
Mm.
I like to stay and watch the credits.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people pop up, and you're like, hey, I know him, and or you
Hey,
think you
hey,
see somebody in the
yeah, yeah,
background, and you want to
yeah.
make sure it's who you thought it was. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. I'd like to get a little controversial. Look, hey, if you're gonna see a movie called Mutilator 2, you're not going to go see it because, so and so did a nice little performance in it. You want to see the Mutilator 2, right? You better be twice the blood as the first one too, right? And sometimes I worked on this movie called Mutilator 2, and I was all real gung ho about it because it's the sequel to one of my childhood favorite films, The Mutilator. And this is something recently that happened, and everybody got their name on the movie poster, blah blah blah. I worked on the movie for like almost half a year to 9 months on designing the effects and bringing the effects to set and whatnot. Didn't get my name on the movie poster. The original special effects artist for the first film got his name on the movie poster, but there even the assistant director got their name on the movie poster. Like no one's going to see a damn movie because of the assistant director's work on the film. Yes, I'll applaud you, but sure as shit, you're gonna go see a movie called Mutilator 2 because of the gore and the blood and the kills in the film. You know.
Well, then I'm glad you got this award because that means someone's recognizing you. You know,
Thank you. Yes, that's why the award was so important. You know,
I
and
can see that.
yeah, I grew up, with really great mentors. There were some men in my life that really shaped my idea of the kind of man I've always wanted to be. You know,
Well, I did
uh,
want to ask you what got you started. So, what did get you started, and who were these mentors that you're talking about?
my father. I'm gonna be honest with you. My father was my biggest supporter and influencer in my life. I mean, like it really, I don't know what kind of relationship, everybody has different relationships with their parents. My mother, not so good, but my
Hmm.
father, I like literally remember him, like I came home one day from elementary school with like I drawn a picture of a clown. Everybody in the class had to draw the picture of the same clown. But it was really good. It's like a really good picture, really good clown. And he picked me up and held me up in the air and he said, "This is really good." And from that moment on, I knew that I had something that needed to be nurtured. And my dad did that for me. And so and then I went through a series of basically being around men that encouraged me to do my very best and showed me how to do that. I had my cousin Eddie Perez, who was he was an older gentleman, but he also liked horror and special effects and whatnot. And he would take me to movies, and he would buy me literature that showed me how to do the things I wanted to do. He'd buy me books that had like actual instructions that showed me how to make special effects. And then you move on to like someone like Tom Savani, a very famous, well-known special effects artist. This is long before he had a school. He actually has a school now where he teaches special effects. But like back in 1982, 83, I was 13 years old. And this man would take his time to talk with me on the phone. How do you get someone's phone number like that? Well, you and I are basically the same age. Back in the day, if you had the name of the person and the area code where they lived, you could call that city, right? And be like, 411. Yeah, may I get the phone number to Tom Savani? How do you spell that? Tomsavini. And then be like, okay, here you go. If his name was listed, you got his phone number. And I'd call him on the phone. I say, "Hi, Tom, this is Joey Castro. Can you talk to me about how you make blood?" He'd be like, "Sure." And he would talk with me, and he would talk with me. And so I had him, and also there was a man. His name is Forrest J. Ackerman. Forrest J. Ackerman. You may not know this, but he quiet. He's one of the main reasons you and I are having this conversation right now. Forrest J. Ackerman was the very first how do you say this? Like fandom geek. Like back when they were shooting Dracula on the Universal backlot, he was young enough that he would sneak into the backlot and go in on the sets while they were shooting. He snuck in on the backlot, and so he started his own horror monster magazine back in the day. It's called Famous Monsters of Filmland, and
Yep.
uh, and so he made this magazine. He brought us horror groupies and science fiction groupies together so we could talk about fandom. And he was one of my mentors. And yeah, I've had some amazing people in my life, and that's how I met Brink Stevens, the Scream Queen. She lives like about a mile from me. I consider her family now. I met her when I was 16 years old, and she's in every one of the movies I direct. And I don't know how many, I think she's done like over 250 films or something. But she's an amazing woman to have in my life. And there's been so many. There's been so many. I mean, there's so many people in my life that have helped me along the way. I can't. If you give me an hour, I could talk about all of them
Well, we
because
talked
there's
about our mutual
yeah.
friend James, who I'm working on
James.
a movie with right now, and
Yeah,
he's
I
a
can
character.
I consider
So,
James my brother, like literally my
what kind
younger
of what
brother.
kind of insider stories do you have for us about James?
Yeah, I consider James family. He's like my younger brother. We both think the same way, and we both have the same love and passion for just cinema and bringing people together. I think that's what's one of James's talents is bringing people together to do something amazing or something fun. You know, he's a great producer in that aspect. And
And he's a doer. I think, I mean, actually, I'm 64, so I am a little bit older than you.
okay,
But what I find is there's a lot of people out there that aren't doers. They talk about it, they plan it, and they just don't get doing it. And I said to a guy I know who I work with part time at a part time job, and he also does music. And me and him know a whole bunch of the same people and different people. And I said to him one day, I said, the world is a small world someday because end up knowing all the same people as other people. And I said, what is it to that? He says, well, to tell you the truth, that it's only 5% of the population that does everything, so we get to know each other.
yeah,
And in some ways that's true.
yeah,
And speaking about James, he's a doer,
yeah,
and he tries to get with other doers, and then you end up knowing each other because you are doers. You're doing things.
yeah. James is one
So
of these guys that he doesn't even talk about it. It's already done by the time he's talking about it. You know, that's the real man in action. If they're talking about something, it's because it's a done deal already. And they're like, yeah, because I don't really like to talk about stuff until it's done. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people who talk a big game, but they're not really actually doing anything about it. But yeah, James will he'll call me at like 11 a.m. He's like, "Hey Joe, can we shoot tonight?" I'm like, "What do you need?" I need, about 7 vampires, and we're gonna kill all of them. And then I want to do something with a creature. You got a creature handy? Yeah, I'll bring over a creature. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, but what time's call time? 4 o'clock. Okay, we'll get everybody there 4. I'll be there around 5:36. Give me a little time to prepare, and then I'll drive over and we'll shoot something and it'll be amazing. And here in LA, you have access to a lot of very talented people in a very small area. So, even if it's last minute, you're still getting the best of the best right then and there. And when we all get together to work, we make some pretty amazing things. So yeah.
Now, you said your first paycheck was when you were 12. So what kind of a project was that?
Well, when I was 12 years old, I made my first rubber mask, and in doing so, I also, I was taught a lot of stuff, like makeup, through literature. There were a lot of like theatrical makeup books. So when I was 12 years old, a man from PBS hired me to make another young man into different stages of old age, like make him progressive, make him old. And I was just using this theatrical stage book that taught people how to like make someone look older. And I would just kind of like, first I would draw the lines on his face to make him look like he's, getting some jowls and bags under his eyes. And then I went on to like put latex on his face to make his skin look wrinkled. And I think I even put mustaches on him and whatnot. And there were these basic essentials. But yeah, all that literature back in the day taught me how to do basic theatrical makeup. And that was my first gig. What happened was what did happen? How did he get my number? Well, basically, going through high school, middle school and high school, I was always like putting makeup effects on my friends and whatnot. And eventually I won a national special effects makeup contest that was put on by Forrest Ackerman's magazine, Famous Monsters of Filmland. At the time, I think it was called Monsterland. But anyways, I got an article on the front page of the San Antonio Express newspaper because I won that, and everybody in my school knew about it. And so people started reaching out to me to hire me to do certain things, and that was the first one. It was a PBS affiliate there in San Antonio that hired me to do this special effects old age makeup on this young guy. The young guy, he was probably like 17 years old, and I did different stages of him getting older and older till he was like this 100-year-old man, and I had like cotton and latex on his face. I wish I had pictures of it today to see my work back then. I guess it was good enough, but it would be amazing to see that. At the time, you never know. I mean, at the time you're doing that stuff, you don't realize you want to be able to look back at it. But I was so young, and cameras were different back then. It was like probably like a 110 camera I had, right? A little disposable 110 camera or whatever. And yeah, so.
I remember when I used to work for a playhouse, and they used to use like talcum powder on people's faces and hair just to make them look a little older. You know what I mean? And by today's standards, you think that's horrible. But hey,
It worked
I,
back then, yeah. Back then it was acceptable. It's like you watch like old movies when someone dies and you can still see them breathing, and that was acceptable,
or their eyes
accepted.
blink a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. That's acceptable. Today it is completely unacceptable. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
I used to love the old when TV was live, and every so often, like to open a door and you'd see a mic hanging there, or somebody be standing there doing something, and they'd be like, "Oh," and they'd move quick. Those were great days, though. I
Yeah.
guess you said you had three titles that you kind of wanted to talk about: Terror Tunes, Unspeakable Beyond the Wall of Sleep, and
Uh-huh.
Ed Kemper.
Yeah, Ed Kemper. So the first film you mentioned, Terror Tunes, it's actually a franchise that I own with my executive producer and the editor of the movie. It's basically it's a cult film. It's become a cult film over the years. We shot the movie in 2000 and came out in 2001. No, it came out in 2002, and basically it's a very avant-garde film that took on life of its own, and we have a very nice fan following that we've been able to make bigger and bigger over the years. So now we're up to part four. Terror Tunes 4 is now on Tubi. It's very hard to describe the film unless you see it. It's kind of a one of a kind kind of thing. It's basically evil cartoon characters, and they kill you with giant cartoon weapons. But when you die for real. It's not like in a cartoon when you get back up.
It sounds
And
like the Roadrunner.
it's exactly what it is. It's the Roadrunner, except when you die for real, those real blood and guts. And the twist is that the devil made these cartoon characters to kill innocent people, innocent children, and they come out of your television set on DVD. This was 2001, where everybody had a DVD player, right? And we're like, what can we do? Hasn't been done, and yeah, we decided to make this kind of cult film. And the best part about the movie was we shot the whole movie for $2,300. And get this. It sat on the shelf right next to Pirates of the Caribbean in Blockbuster Home Video when it came out.
That's
Yeah, and it moved. We moved 50,000 copies of it in the first 2 weeks at $3.33 a piece, $2,300. There you go. You do the math. So it was kind of an instant cult hit. We was released on VHS and DVD when it came out, and it was like wildfire. I had no idea it was going to catch on, but it was such a different, unique look. The box cover and the man that distributed the film for us. He was a big fan of the film, so he knew how to market it. He knew how to sell it, and he got it into the hands of the people that really wanted to see something kind of culty and different. When I say cult, I mean like avant-garde kind of art house, just different. Well, by today's standards, it's basically something that you would see on Adult Swim. Are you familiar with Adult Swim?
yes,
It's
yes.
basically Adult Swim. It's Adult Swim, but we did it back in the year 2001. And yeah. Anyhow, that's a great that's it's my bread and butter. It's the movie that keeps my career alive and the fandom going. But then we have two other films that I want to talk about. Unspeakable Beyond the Wall of Sleep, which is out right now on Apple TV uncensored, and I believe it's also on Google Play and Prime. And it's basically an H.P. Lovecraft film. And I work with this really talented young man. Well, he's a few years younger than me. His name is Chad Farron. I made 9 features with him already, and these are two of his last films that have come out. And he's such a talented man. You have to watch these films. They're very entertaining. Unspeakable is more of a science fiction, cosmic horror film, and then Ed Kemper is a true crime story that he
Mm.
directed. And that's the one that's out right now. So if you like true crime, you like violence, this is a serial killer film about a
So
true
where
life.
can you see that one at?
You can see that one everywhere. You can see that one on Prime and Apple TV and all the regular places. It's called Ed Kemper, and it's based on the true life serial killer here in Southern California. And he murdered, actually, yeah, yeah, he murdered people in Northern California, I believe. Yeah, it was Northern California, and it's a very detailed look. Today movies, they don't have to be rated R anymore, right? They're like all or nothing. They're MA, right? Mature audience only. Do you remember back in the day when a movie wasn't rated R and it was unrated? It was like rated N or rated no rated X, rated U for unrated, right? You knew it had some really um risque material in it,
Remember when what was the movie? Oh, I remembered it, forgot. Uh, the one where they're down south and they do the squeal like a pig in it.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
can't think
yeah.
what the name of that movie was.
Deliverance. Deliverance.
but I could not go to that, even with my 19-year-old sister and her boyfriend, because I had to go with a parent
Right,
wasn't
right, right.
allowed in
Yeah.
because of the content. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, it's funny how that changed. And the way you wanted to define cult there, yeah, I could see how some people could worry about that word cult when you use it, but
Mm,
to
mm.
me, cult is campy stuff that gets a following.
Well,
And
Star Wars is actually considered a cult movie.
I could kind of see that in a way too, because probably then you could probably do Star Trek movies like that too.
Yeah, because they
Not
have
not the
cult
new
mean.
ones,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
old ones.
Cult means it has a
Following.
following, very cult like following. They're just religious to the core. They love your film, and nothing's gonna pry them from loving all over it. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Talking about James, me and James have had that conversation. Having a movie made with James, I hope it is campy and fun, and then it gets a cult following because of its campiness and fun.
yeah.
Uh, if
Well,
you ever
me,
go to my if you ever go to my IMDb page, you see all kind of crazy projects I've worked on, and some of them have interesting titles. And it's more fun, I think, a lot of times to work on the quirky films than the ones that take themselves too seriously, because you can have fun, and then the more fun you have, I think that transfers the fun to the viewers. They
yeah.
can tell
Yeah.
when the creative team had fun. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, two of the things I like to, live by are one, make the movie that you want to see. So if you want to see it, then because you're the only person that really has to be happy with it. And then two, movies are neither good or bad. They either entertain the person who's watching them or they don't. And if you can make a movie that's entertaining, then you got lightning in a bottle. People want to watch it. It doesn't matter if it's multi-billion-dollar film or it's a micro budget film. If it entertains the viewer who's watching it, then it's worth its price in gold, right? It's entertaining. That's why we watch movies, to be entertained. And yeah, I've worked on a lot of really quirky films. James makes quirky movies, that's for sure. I consider James's movies kind of more like a sci-fi horror version of Benny Hill.
Well, that's a
You
good.
know,
I like
yeah,
that.
that's what he's doing. He's doing Benny Hill for a mature audience, and but going back to like those unrated films, Unspeakable and Ed Kemper are both definitely X-rated in a sense that the material subject matter is very mature and very risque, and not because of sex, but because of the things that happen in it that involve either nudity or whatever's going on, the adult content that's in it. You're gonna see something in his movies that you can't really see anywhere else. How about that? And
Sounds. I have to try and check them out.
yeah,
Now, I
that
did promise I wouldn't keep you too long, but I wanted a couple more questions of you. Now, what
sure.
what has it been that maybe you would like to do yet that you haven't done yet? What would
Oh,
you like to accomplish?
Oh, that's a great question. What would I like to do that I haven't accomplished yet? I've always wanted to make a this is so funny. Maybe well, it's funny to me. I grew up on Italian horror films. Tom Savini's Italian, all the Italian zombie films. One of my favorite movies I've ever seen. It was one of the first films I saw in a movie theater with my cousin Eddie, who took me to see movies. One of my mentors was this Italian horror film called City of the. Well, at the time it was released as called Twilight of the Dead, and they literally had to retitle the film the next week because George Romero, the owner of the Living Dead films or the Dead films, demanded they change it because of copyright, copyrights at the time. But it's called The Gates of Hell, City of the Living Dead. And so I always wanted to literally make an Italian horror film, like an Italian themed horror film with actual Italian actors. I want to do like probably a zombie film, an Italian zombie movie. But if I could do that, I could die. And just go ahead and kill me and put me in the ground. I'll be done. I'll never have to make another movie again, and everything will be great. Yeah, I've always wanted to make an Italian, yeah, Spanish Italian joint venture because Spain has some great zombie films as well. So the Spanish and the Italians were always making films together, and
They speak Latin, that's why.
yeah, yeah, it would just be amazing. Oh, I'd be in heaven. So, yeah, if I could do that, I think it's going to be great. Yeah.
It's funny you said Spanish, Italian. Like I told you before we talked, my one grandfather was from Spain. And when I had my genetics done, I'm 10% Italian, 7% Spanish genetically. And my girlfriend goes, how can that be? Nobody in your family's Italian. I said, well, what do you think the Romans did when they were in Spain?
Yeah.
They didn't have Netflix to watch the zombie, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
But now,
absolutely.
last question I wanted to ask you, though, before I'll let you get going, because I know you're busy. What advice would you give to young people today
Uh-huh.
that are interested in getting into movies? What advice would you give them?
That's a great question. What advice would I give a young person or somebody who wants to begin a career in the filmmaking industry? Start now. Start right now. I mean, I'm 40. I'm going to be 55 this year, and even after 43 years, I'm just now comfortable with my work. And it takes it, I kind of feel like I grew up in the past 10 years, really. But start now and remain teachable, And a lot of young people at 30 years old think they know everything. I got it, whatever. I got it. I got this, but you remain teachable. Even at the very end, one of my greatest mentors was a man named Herschel Gordon Lewis, and he died at the age of 92. And he himself was teachable all the way to the very end, and Herschel Gordon Lewis is actually a man that directed the very first slasher splatter movie ever. Back in 1963, he directed a movie called Blood Feast, and he wrote it, directed it, shot the film, he edited the film, he composed all the music for the movie, and he taught himself how to do all the kills and the special effects for the film. And so if everybody ever asks you, what's the very first slasher movie ever made? It's Blood Feast, 1963. Anyways, he was always teachable, and I've always remained teachable over the years. And get into the work now. It's never too late to chase your dream and to so that you can get into living it, get into actually living it. I saw this meme where it's this man and he's standing over a person, like I guess playing the piano, and the man says, "Stop! You're not good." And the kid looks up at the man and says, "But if I stop now, I will never be good."
Yeah,
So so
that's
so
uh,
yeah, so get to it now, and remain teachable. Take classes. I still take classes. During the pandemic, I had the opportunity to study sculpting with one of my mentors, Brian Wade, an amazing sculptor. I mean, this man he's done so many things on movies that you've seen. He worked on the original. You remember John Carpenter's remake of The Thing? He worked on that film. He's worked on so many. I can't even begin to tell you how many things he's worked on. But I had a chance to go and sit with him and study with him. Don Lanning, another sculptor. Tom Berman. Actually, I'm sorry, Rob Berman, Tom Berman's son, Ellis Berman. This is the Berman family that has worked in the film industry for decades, and I had a chance to study with him as well. So even at 55, I still take classes. I still study craft and remain teachable. You never know where your inspiration is going to come from. Sometimes I'm on set with like a 25-year-old and they're like doing something. I'm like, hey, how you doing that? And they're like, they have their own imagination. They have their own way of doing things. They want to make their mark on the world. So you never know when you're going to learn something new and amazing.
us being older. We have to stay educatable, and I think the young people sometimes have to learn to also listen to some things we say sometimes, because I know, like you said, I've dealt with a lot of young people and they seem to think they know it all, and it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt that way when I was younger too,
Yeah.
so it's a two-way street. We all have to stay open to things, because you don't know what's going to give you that spark or that idea, and you just don't know what it's going to be or who
Yeah.
it's going to come from.
Right.
Come from your dog there on the floor. I wrote a song about my dog one time, and that's a inspiration. You don't know what it'll be, but thanks for being with us today, Joe. And hopefully we can talk again in the future, maybe about some future projects that you are working on now or haven't even started yet, and keep the people up to date with what you're doing. And it was great. I'm going to go back and look at some of these things, some of these movies, and maybe even tonight, or definitely probably tomorrow night. The girlfriend will be away again for some business, so I can watch
What?
whenever I want. That
Okay, watch out. Ed Kemper has a bite. He's gonna get you. Hey, listen, for everybody out there listening, if you're on social media, come find me at facebook.com /Joe.Castro. Send me a message, say hello. Let's make a movie. I'm also on Instagram at Joe_Castro_director. And check out my IMDb and yeah, let's make some movies.
I'll try and put some links down below. This will be available tomorrow then. And thank you, Joe. It's been great.
John, it's amazing. You're awesome. Thank you for all that you do for the independent filmmaking community and all artists out there. We appreciate you, brother, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your Wednesday.
Thank you.
Be well. Take care. Right on, John. Thank you so much.